Hi, this is Jack Stanley, and I wanted to talk about my search for Caruso. You know, Caruso is a singer who we all know very, very well, who we're all very aware of, and was one of the great recording artists of his time. And that's all in well and good, and we all know this. But years ago, it was a lot harder to find this information out. I have to tell you, the first time I even tried looking for Caruso, it dealt with someone else actually who got my attention. It was a singer named Mario Lanza, and he had made a recording. He made a lot of recordings, but this was a 78 recording of music from a movie called The Great Caruso. And I said, wow, that's pretty cool. And I said, I guess Caruso sounds like this or something like that. I didn't know. And it wasn't, I looked in dictionaries and encyclopedias and I found little write-ups here or there. But I really didn't know much about who Caruso was. I went to the public library and there I found Gloria Caruso's account of her marriage to her husband in the last few years of his life. And finally, I did get a recording. I did get a recording of Caruso singing Garibaldi's hymn. And it was very different than what I heard with Mario Lanza. Mario Lanza was electrically recorded with a studio, and you could hear the sounds of the studio. When you listen to an acoustic recording, it was totally different. It was somewhat thinner in the sound. It was a spectacular voice, of course, that I heard with Caruso, but it wasn't the same as listening to the Mario Lanza. Well, they're both great singers, but it's very hard to, one's electrically recorded, one's acoustically recorded. It's kind of hard to even try to put them in the same league because it's pretty much an impossibility. But nonetheless, that's how I got my interest started in opera. I didn't know anything about opera. My family had no interest whatsoever in opera or classical music. I don't really recall hearing much music at all. So the end result is that I, the oddball of the family, started to collect Caruso recordings. And I have to say, I was somewhat monolithic in my thought. I just thought Caruso. I never thought of other singers for quite a while. And it was for a few years before I ever started getting into sopranos and contraltos and baritones and basses. And I was a true neophyte. I didn't know a thing. And then I went to my school. I remember my freshman year in high school, and they had an album. It was 4 LPs, and it was a Murray Hill record, and it was called The Great Caruso. And I listened to those. In fact, I listened to the album many, many times. I remember sitting there with headphones on, you know, and just absorbing a lot of the music. And of course, when I did find my first real Caruso recording, I expected to say The Great Caruso on it, and said Enrico Caruso. I said, what's wrong here? Why is it saying The Great Caruso? Oh, I had a lot to learn. So nonetheless, the odyssey that brought me through much of my record collecting started with finding a record of Mario Lanza, and enhanced by my search for Caruso. And over the years, I acquired many, many more. I have to say I'm kind of Caruso'd out. I'm not trying to find any Caruso records, unless they happen to be G&Ts or Zonophones. Those get my attention. but they're very, very hard to find. Of course, the zonophones are near impossible to find. G&Ts you can find occasionally, but not too often. I just wanted to share this little odyssey with you because I know all of us who collect recordings and records, we all have a way in which we start and how we learned about this stuff. You know, it's wonderful today. There's so much information. But I must say, 40 years ago, there was nothing much at all. And you really had to know where to look to find any information at all. So, for those of you who are new to the field of collecting, study all the stuff that's here. There's so much to learn. And you know something, for us old timers that have been collecting for a while, we have a lot to learn too, because you know something? As time goes by, more new information is found, and sometimes we find the old information, which we thought was so true, is horrendously incorrect. So we keep learning, we keep growing, and we keep looking for those unique recordings, those old 78s that we love.